Boozy Man Booze. Tomorrow, May 1st, 2016, marks a very special day for Twin Valley Distillers out of Rockville, Maryland. They're going to be 2 years old, and to celebrate their anniversary, they releasing their first rye whiskey. This here 1794 Maryland 4-grain rye whiskey, double cask aged. Alright, let's get some in the glass so we can let it breathe a little bit before we smell it and taste it. Now, let's talk a little bit about Twin Valley. We've done reviews on their spirits before on YouTube. You can go back and check them out if you like. But they're making all kind of neat things. Rums, wheat whiskey, moonshine. Bourbons is what they're really known for, though. In fact, Twin Valley may be the first distillery in Maryland to ever create bourbon. We did an exhaustive search last year sometime, and we couldn't find any records in the Maryland State Archives or anywhere else that indicated that anyone ever made bourbon whiskey in Maryland. Maryland, of course, made a lot of rye whiskey back in the day, but we just couldn't find anybody who made bourbon. So they're pioneers in the world of artisan distillers here in the great state of Maryland. Now, this spirit here is, let's get through some of the nuts and bolts here. This spirit here is 60% rye, sourced from Maryland, as are the other grains. And the remaining grains are, the remaining 40%, of course, are corn, barley, and oats. Now, we don't know what percentage of those remaining grains because the proprietor and former chef and master distiller, Edgardo Zuniga, is very tight-lipped about his mash bills, and he's a wizard. Not only is he a wizard with food, but he's a wizard with these grains and teasing out flavors like we've never had before. And that's what I like so much about Twin Valley Distillers. They're doing really cutting-edge stuff. Alright, so we got the grain makeup. Now, after the grains are steeped and cooked and cooled down, yeast is added. Now, this is a neat thing. Edgardo believes that instead of adding a lot of nutrients to your distiller's beer, or prior to your distiller's beer, to your mash, instead of adding a lot of nutrients to your mash to make the yeast work quicker, he liked to only put a little bit in and let the yeast take like 10-11 days. And when the yeast takes 10-11 days, they create all kind of interesting alcohols that eventually convert over to very flavorful esters and other components that you don't normally find in a lot of other spirits. So that's one cool thing he's doing. Now, the spirit is double distilled. There's a stripping run and a spirits run. And then he throws it in new. This particular batch, number 1 here, was only a single cask, a 10-gallon new oak charred cask, number 4 char, and he aged it less than a year, and then before bottling, he stuck it in a used 15-gallon cask that previously held some of his blends of bourbons in it. So it's got a neat pedigree between the 4 grains and the double cask. Heck, we ain't tasted many of them kind of spirits before. Now, let me say this, too, because, you know, these big distilleries in Kentucky and Indiana, they don't have the equipment to mill and mash more than 3 grains, so they can't do this kind of stuff that a lot of the artisan distilleries are doing. So I love 4-grain whiskeys. I just think it's a totally different dimension than anything that you get in the common marketplace. All right, now, let's get this up on the nose and see what we're picking up here. I get something like honey, and I pick up the oat tones in here right off the bat. You get the char from the barrel. You can smell that too. Corn jump out of the glass. Whew, man, really wonderful. But there's this bread dough yeastiness that I really like. There's something really charming about this aroma here. Vanilla, a hint of vanilla too. It's a little brightness, little citrus tone, maybe lemon. Let's get up on the palate. What the proof here? 97.10 proof, 48.5%, 48.55 alcohol by volume. For a spirit this big, this thing don't show it. Matter of fact, it's so refined on the palate, it'll have you jumping through hoops. I can't believe that it don't come across as of having like full throttle power for something that's such a high alcoholic percentage. It's wonderful. Now I will say this, for a rye, and it do have spicy rye tones, and we're going to get into that in a minute, there is a unique, the other grains make for a very unique profile here, especially the oats. They give you that little hint of cocoa, and that it's almost like a cream corn type of taste in here. You get caramel, toffee a little bit, definitely vanilla, char, you're picking up the oak for sure. I get a little cinnamon tone in here, a little bit of anise or fennel, even a little bit of herbaceousness from the rye, a little bit like something like celery, very, very, very minimal though, not too big on the herbaceous tones. One more here. There is this little hint of like cherry, like just barely ripe cherry. I'll tell you, lemon for sure, a little bit of that. There is something that reminds me of almond a little bit, like Marcona almond from Spain. This got more things going on than I can even describe to you. This is a real good sipping whiskey, and it'd be a shame to, I think, ever throw it into a cocktail, because I mean, it probably would make a great cocktail, but it's so captivating and so refined that I think really it's best served up straight like this, or even with a teeny little bit of water to open it up. But I'm loving this. It's got so much interesting flavors and aromas. I love that bread dough thing going on in here. And I love what oats does for this too. The viscosity, the mouthfeel. It's wonderful. Now let me say one other thing. Edgardo Zuniga, the master distiller and owner of the distillery, he's doing a lot of good things for spirits producers here in Maryland. He recently lobbied and broke the monopoly of Montgomery County, Maryland, and he can now self-distribute instead of having to go through their distribution channel. So he's staying strong with the political scene here, helping make things better in the state. And oh, I forgot, the 1794 pays homage to the Whiskey Rebellion, which we all know about that. And if you don't know about it, go on Google and look up the Whiskey Rebellion of 1794. But Edgardo is very passionate about always putting historical tidbits of information on his bottles. He wants you all to remember the past, so that like they always say, you learn from the past, but also to pay homage to folks before him who also made spirits. This is a winner here. This is going to be a spirit that is going to take awards, in my opinion, and I truly believe that it's going to put Maryland back on the map as one of the greatest producers of rye whiskey again in the great US of A. On that note, I'm E-Man Booze. Check me out on YouTube, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, a new website soon, and check these guys out on the internet, twinvalleydistillers.com. Bye, you all!